Hello Void! For today's video, I wanted to talk about a spiritual initiation that I am currently undertaking. For the last year and a half, I've been working my way through an initiatory path based on Mesopotamian religious traditions through a book called Rod and Ring, an initiation into a Mesopotamian mystery tradition by Samuel David. He has a YouTube channel, so I'll put a link in the description. Rod and Ring is an initiatory journey into a mystery tradition derived from the religious and magical practices of ancient Mesopotamia, primarily Sumer and Babylon. It takes the supplicant on a spiritual journey through the realms of heaven, earth, and the underworld. Throughout the course of the rituals, you will meet the most important deities within the spiritual current. Most of these rituals are to be scheduled around the new moon, though there are some parts that are meant to be performed on the full moon as well. I decided to undertake this initiation basically on Inanna's insistence. I found Samuel David's other book, Lioness, The Song of Inanna, through one of the Mesopotamian polytheist groups on Facebook that I was lurking around on at the time. I obviously wanted to get that book, but I felt Inanna pushing me towards the other book that he wrote, Rod and Ring, as well. This is Lioness, The Song of Inanna. Comes in this fancy slipcover. It says Piring Anna, which means Lion of Heaven, I believe, on the front. This nice little hardcover book that features a hymn to Inanna. This is Rod and Ring. Anyway, I was a bit hesitant at first because I didn't really worship any of the other gods other than Inanna, except Ninshubur and Dumuzi to an extent. I don't doubt that there was some underlying subconscious idea that getting involved with other deities other than Inanna would be some kind of betrayal to her. Even though I was raised non-religious as a child, the majority monotheist culture does kind of seep into everything a little bit. But I felt Inanna pushing me to go deeper into my practice and to get to know the other gods better in their historical and ritual contexts. Rod and Ring provides a framework for building relationships with many of the Mesopotamian deities, as well as a starting point for building a deeper spiritual practice around them. And I've come to learn that if you really want to deepen your relationship to your deities, that you really do need to understand how they relate to the pantheon that they come from, and you do need to learn about their historical worship. I think that is something that is missing from a lot of neo-pagan practice. I'm not saying that you have to only pick one pantheon and stick to it, though that's what my path personally looks like. But you should at least understand how your gods relate to and interact with each other, and how the original cultures who worshipped them actually viewed and worshipped them. That might be a better topic for a separate video though, so let's get back to Rod and Ring. The first section is called Threshold, and it is an introduction to the gods of heaven, earth, and the underworld. These rituals are kind of an introduction to meet the gods in part before we meet them in full later on in the journey. This section of the book also includes rituals that you'll want to use throughout the rest of your journey and probably in your regular daily practice as well, such as the invocation of the barrier for when you're casting your circles, and the consecration of water to consecrate holy water for ritual use. There's also a chart that shows you how to find your theophoric name based on the time that you were born, but I didn't use this. I started using a variation of my nickname Naya when I first started the journey, but then around the time that I was about to start the foundation section, I had a dream where Inanna gave me a new name. So I've been using that one in rituals since. Now, I'm not going to reveal my magical name online because I'm not trying to get Rumpelstiltskin here, but I looked up all of the syllables that make up the name that she gave me, and it does make sense in Sumerian. Foundation is where we really start to get into the practice a bit more. This is a 7-month journey where we get to know the gods of the earth. Each month at the new moon, you'll do a ritual evoking the moon god Nana, and then on the second night, you'll do a longer main ritual for the god that you are devoting your ritual to that month. Then on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th nights, you'll do a shorter ritual of thanksgiving to the deity by proclaiming their praises. I'm not going to get too detailed here. You'll have to undergo this journey yourself. But the gods you'll encounter in this section are Gibel, Ninurta, Ishkur, Nisaba, Ningal, Geshtinana, and Dumuzi. The third part of this initiation is the descent. And this is where I currently am. This part ritually takes you on a journey down into the underworld. And it's divided into 3 main rituals in which you will descend and cross the river Hoover, pass through the 7 gates, and then come face to face with Erishkigal in the House of Dust. I was a little bit unclear about how long this part of the journey was supposed to last, because in the book, as written, it says that each of the rituals should be performed 3 months apart. But I was talking to my priestess Priska at Circle of Inanna, and she said that when she did this initiation, she did the descent section over 3 months total. So I guess it's open to interpretation, and you can do it whichever way resonates best with you. I made the decision to still stretch it out over 3 months between each, which will put me in the underworld for a total of 6 months. I had already planned to do 3 months between each when I planned out my ritual calendar on New Year's. And more importantly, I realized that since I started my descent back in January and will be finishing it in July, that this timing mirrors my breast cancer journey from 2 years ago. So taking this full time to go through the voluntary descent into the underworld is actually very healing for me. I might make more videos to talk about my experiences with each part, but I do want to share this part. In the week or 2 leading up to beginning my descent, I had a couple of weird experiences. First, out of nowhere, these big-ass flies started appearing in my house. This was in January, by the way, and I couldn't find out where they were coming from. I think there were maybe 6 or 7 total, and they just disappeared as mysteriously as they appeared after I completed the ritual. During that week, I also found a random dead worm in the closet of the room that I use as my temple room. It was really weird. I do have a worm bin downstairs in a totally different part of my house, but I don't see how they could have made it all the way through the house and up the stairs and into this closet. I do have a small worm bin in this room now, but I set it up after this happened. I ended up taking the worm outside to do the little funerary ritual that I originally developed for the mice that the neighborhood cats always bring to me in my garden. I figured that was a respectful thing to do for it. Anyway, the flies and the worm might be disturbing to some people, but I took it as kind of a greeting from an underworld welcoming committee. The last part of this initiatory path is ascent. I haven't really read ahead too much, other than to plot out the dates when I need to do the rituals and to see what materials that I'm going to need to have prepared, because I don't like to read the actual ritual text until I'm actually doing the ritual so it can feel more immersive. But I know that I'm going to be making my own rod and ring symbol, and that there's going to be a big feast and a temple dedication ceremony. Now, I do already do my own temple rededication ceremonies pretty much every time I make significant changes to my altar or elsewhere in my temple room. And I even have a name for my home temple already. I assume that most theistic pagans would just automatically do something similar on their own early on in their journey, but maybe I'm just extra. I don't know. I kind of wish I would have made videos documenting my experience throughout this journey from the start, but I might go back and make videos about some of the individual parts anyway. I did take notes in my journal throughout the whole thing, and I made blog posts about some of them on my personal blog. So I have those to look back on if I decide to make those videos. I'm excited to be finishing this journey in September, but I'm also a bit sad that it's going to be over. I really liked having something to do for each new moon. So now I feel like I'm going to have to develop something new to fill that space in my schedule when I finish. Since I'm taking the full 3 months between each descent ritual, I've already felt a bit of that in the off months, so I've at least been setting aside time to reflect on the underworld and mortality and all of that during the new moons where I don't have any official ritual work to do. Well, that's my explanation for this initiatory journey that I'm currently undertaking. Have you gone through this initiation yourself, or are you considering it? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.